Good afternoon, Captain. How are you?
Bosun, don't drop that. It might ignite.
Yes, sir.
These are the grapes. You can tell by the color of the shirt. And this is the division officer for the grapes, Lieutenant Commander Gary Black, and I'm going to let him take it here for a few minutes from there.
Thank you, sir. We have a little over 1 million gallons of JP5 on board. Of course, when it comes on board, it is not perfectly clean. And Bosun Black is demonstrating, this is a sample as taken from Hassayampa the other night. And I'm going to let Bosun explain just a little bit on how we clean this fuel up.
Once we get the fuel down in the tanks, we let it set for overnight. Then we run it through the purifiers down there, which rotated and say centrifugal force clean it out so it looks like this. Then we let it set again in a service tank. Then we bring it through a service filter on the way to the flight deck for one last check to make sure it's good enough for the airplanes, no free water and no sediment.
Captain, I'd like to introduce to you one of our flight deck leading petty officers, and he's responsible for 5 crews of 3 men that refuel the birds. Okay? Captain, this is Petty Officer Slaymaker.
Hi, good to see you.
Okay, and Petty Officer Slaymaker has a crew of 3 people here, and when you give the signal, they can bring the hoses up and refuel the aircraft.
Okay, sir. Hey guys, let's go. Bring it up.
On the flight deck, we have fueling stations that are built into the catwalks and along the sides. Each station has about 100 feet of hose. Airman Sims is on the nozzle end right now. Airman Smith is the backup and helps bring the hose out. There is also one person that is down in the catwalk operating the fuel station itself. The first thing that they do need to do is ground the aircraft. He'll do that by using a pad eye on the deck and then grounding it to a hard metal steel point in the aircraft. Okay. The next thing he does is grounds the nozzle to the aircraft. And then finally he connects the fueling receptacle to the aircraft. Once he throws a continuity switch, if we have good electrical continuity, the fuel will come up and the snake, as we call it, gets hard and the fuel goes in. Could I introduce you to these men, sir?
Sure. Let's go on over here.
Captain, this
Hi,
is
you
Airman
guys.
Smith.
Hi, good to see you.
And Airman Sim.
Hi, good to see you guys. I got a couple of questions for you, okay? Number one, in a typical recovery, you know, your crew right here, how many aircraft do you refuel on after one recovery?
After one recovery, sir, we're on the bow of the ship, and we have at least 6 to 8 planes on the port side. We try to catch them as fast as we can until the yellow shirts, the AVHs, go ahead and move them back aft for spot after they land the crew.
And then after that, you might not get them all on the bow, right?
Yes, sir.
So then you gotta haul tail back to the other end, right?
Back aft. So we should get about 2 or 3 planes on the bow, and then go to station 15 or 16 and get about 2 more or 3 more planes.
Now, do you guys work through the whole day of flight ops?
Yes, sir.
All the way through.
Okay, so
Flight ops open.
So when we do an 8-cycle day, how many hours you put in up here?
We work during flight ops until it stops.
Until it stops, huh?
Flight ops to flight.
How about maintenance after flight ops are over?
We clean our stations, go ahead
And then repair.
The next flight ops.
Go through the maintenance on the hose and then check them.
Well, I want to tell you guys do a super job. You know, this flight deck right now is working at a tempo as high as I've ever seen it. We started it during ref tray, and the planes don't get off without the gas. And you guys really pump it to them and are just doing an outstanding job. I know the pilots thank you a heck of a lot, and so do the rest of us, because as I've said previous on this show, this is the offense and defense of the battle group.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Got anything you want to say to your shipmates before we sign off?
What's up, V4?
Pretty easy, be a great, it's a hard-working job.
Sure is. You guys do super. Thank you very much. Quality control, huh?
Yes,
Good
sir.
to see you.
Thank
How
you.
about telling us a little bit about what you do?
All right, sir. Pretty basically what we do is we take random samples around the deck, and we get below deck samples, and we test this for impurities and water that's in the fuel. And we do about 50, 60 samples on a 24-hour period. So what I'm doing here, pretty much what you do, if you see me out there on spot 3, hook up our gamma fitting into the nozzle. Make ourselves a nice sample. Of course, you can't do it now. Take a sample, and then what I'm checking for is visual clarity. Make sure that it is fuel. There's nothing wrong with it. No sediment or anything like that. And that's pretty much what we do every day.
All day long, too?
All day long, yes, sir.
And when we refuel from Hacienda or something, you do it also, right?
Yes, sir. I'm on all unreps. Along with Night QC man. He's on unreps as well. We do have some occasions where fuel, we can't tell if it's fuel or not, so we ask our bosun. He knows what's going on. You come step over here, bosun?
Bosun always knows.
Yes, sir.
For 26 years been working in fuel, so I have an idea. That smells like fuel. How's it smell to you?
Almost good enough to drink, huh? That's what I call a real aviation boat.
That's JB5.
I didn't know you don't do that now. Let you right into it. Before we get it away, I wanted to introduce Petty Officer Nugent, one of the hardest working greats. He was over in the catwalk controlling the thing. How you doing?
Fine, sir.
What do you think about this job?
I really enjoy this job. I feel like a part of the flight deck where nobody else goes. Of course, we're not recognized as much as everybody else, but as long as we pull together, we'll be a strong air department, and we pull our share of the work.
Those are good words for the entire ship, pulling together. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Air Boss, here we are on the flight line, on the alert line, I should say, where we got our pilots manned up in the Alert 5, ready to launch within 5 minutes in case we have a little real-world activity.
Yes, sir. What I'd like to do today, for those that are down below, don't get a chance to see much in the flight deck, we'll give you a simulation of what happens on the flight deck. We'll go ahead and interview a few people here. Lieutenant Commander Roberts will take care of introducing his key players.
Okay.
And after we've had a chance to clear the area, since we're not in full flight deck here, they'll go ahead and start the aircraft, take it to the CAT, and describe what's happening, Captain.
Great.
Commander Roberts?
Captain, who we have here is the flight deck chief, Chief Antoon, Fly 1 Petty Officer, Petty Officer Foster, and two of our yellow shirts, Airman Martin and Petty Officer Grimes. Key players on the flight deck. Petty Officer Foster, of course, is Fly 1 Petty Officer, runs the biggest fly. Chief Antoon's run the deck for years, and he's the real kingpin, so yes, sir. I'll let him do most of the talking and explain what's going to happen.
Yes, sir, Captain. We're going to simulate today the what happens when they call launch the alert alpha over the 1MC for the guys below decks to understand what we do up here when they call it away. What's going to happen is that when they call launch the alert alpha, the plane captains and the maintenance crew will automatically start the aircraft up. They do not do any plane captain check. It's already been pre-checked out, pre-flighted, ready to go to the CAT. As soon as he starts up, the blue shirts that are behind me automatically break him down on directions of the yellow shirts, which are the flight deck supervisors up here, and they take him straight to the catapult, and from there it's underneath the shooter and the CAT crew to get him airborne within 5 minutes. Petty Officer Foster is one of our key players here, which is the Fly 1 Petty Officer, which is responsible for the bow where the only two catapults on the ship are, and the recovery stations are as the bow. Our tractor drivers tow our aircraft around, which put more miles on their tire than they do ours just about on the air on the Midway. And our blue shirts are the key players up here, which are breaking them down, and the hardest work up here as far as the flight deck crew goes, from hauling tow bars and chalks and chain. From here, we're going to go ahead and simulate the movement of the aircraft to the catapults, and I'll give the microphone to Petty Officer Foster, and he can explain what the CAT spotters do and how they do it in a timely manner. Petty Officer Foster.
Okay, after we start the aircraft and break it down and start heading toward the CAT, we'll have one gentleman here, he'll be called the cat backer. That's his position for the launch. He remains there, and he makes sure that the aircraft's configured for flight, make sure that there's missiles on the alert bird. You know, just those things that may be overlooked. The flaps are down, make sure that all the troubleshooters are out of the way. So he makes the final check on the aircraft. When that's done, he passes it off to the cat spotter, which also makes sure the aircraft's ready for flight, checks anything that anybody may have missed, the cat back or anything. And cat spotter will bring it up on direction of V2, cat safety. He'll bring it up and make sure it's on center, make sure that the cat guys are ready, the shuttle's back, make sure the aircraft gets armed, and then he'll bring it over to shuttle, put him in tension, and hopefully we'll get it off in 5 minutes. So.
We haven't missed many, have we?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, what about these blue shirts behind you here?
These blue shirts here are the hardest working guys on the flight deck.
Oh, they are.
They ensure that all the airplanes get tied down in a timely manner, sir. They pump those tow bars around the flight deck all day, so they're...
Build muscles is what they do.
Yes, sir.
Where are you from?
I'm from Beaufort, South Carolina, sir.
Beaufort, South Carolina.
Yes, sir.
How you like working on the flight deck?
I like it, sir.
Anything you want to say to your shipmates?
Yes, don't come up here if you don't want to.
Where are you from?
Napa Valley, California.
Napa Valley, California. Well, that's a great place. Very beautiful.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about being out here in Japan and on the Midway?
I like it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Good. Well, you guys do a super job.
Thank you.
Hard work, build muscles, stay slim and trim, right? Okay. What's next?
I guess we'll turn it over to the air boss to call away starts.
Well, Captain, I recommend that we get off flight deck and leave it to the experts while they start these things up.
Okay, let's do it. We got this pilot up here. Let's pull it over. How you doing?
Pretty good, sir.
And you got the plane ready to go on alert 5 in 5 minutes notice,
Yes, sir.
right?
She's up and ready.
Yeah. It's Chief
Bender.
Bender, that's right. Okay. Well, good. You got a couple of stalwart plane captains out here. How about let's get them on TV?
Yes, sir. This is Airman Shaw. He's one
Hi,
of our
Airman
most
Shaw.
outstanding flight captains.
Where are you from?
From Jackson, Mississippi.
Jackson, Mississippi? How you like it out here in Japan on the Midway?
Great, sir.
Good. Who else you got?
Airman Flores.
Hi, Airman Flores. You want to say anything to your shipmates?
Not really, sir.
Well, it's a ship wing team, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Well, we're glad to have you guys out here. Who's the pilot up there? I can't say I was his advisor down. Okay, I'm going to get up and say something to him, too. You know you're going to be on TV this morning, didn't you? Yes, sir. What is it, Arnie? Ernie, man. Okay, this is one of our intrepid Alert 5 pilots here, Lieutenant Ernie Miller, and he's sitting in the cockpit here of a mighty fine airplane. How many times have you been launched on the Alert?
Probably 4 times.
4 times, huh?
Right.
That's an indication of the activity that we get out here on the Midway.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're featuring the Air Department here on this Traveling Captain's Call show. What's your impression overall of the way the Air Department works with the aircraft and the pilots and the direction on the flight deck and so forth?
Okay. I'm really impressed. I feel really comfortable following their direction. And
well, it's a team effort. We're out here to fly you guys, and I like to hear that, and I know that if you see something that's not quite right, you'll let us know so we can correct it.
yes, sir.
Okay, great. Have a good day. Hope you don't launch because we're in the middle of a full power run right now.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
In order to get an aircraft off the flight deck, it's an integral part of both the flight deck crew, the crew for the aircraft itself, and the catapult crew. Normally we've got alert airplanes either standing by next to the coaming, ready to taxi to the flight deck in 5 minutes, and well, we've got them situated right on the platform. As soon as the start for the alert goes away, they call away Alert 5. We've got pilot in the aircraft. The plane captains are starting up his auxiliary power in order to start the engines. They'll do some quick checks and taxi him to the catapult. Even though it's a 5-minute launch, alert launch, we've got safety people standing by, including yellow shirts from the flight deck and troubleshooters in the checkered white port coats. Right now, the auxiliary power is roaring, and they're starting number 1 engine. During a quick Alert 5 launch, a lot of the checks have been done previously, and the pilot, once he taxis out of spot, is ready to go. He's set the flaps. He's done his interior checks. The blue shirts are pulling out the chocks and chains, and they'll pass control of the yellow shirt who will taxi him to the catapult. While the flight deck crew and the squadron crew are starting the Alert 5, the catapult crew has already manned up. They've pulled the slot seals that are above the catapult itself. They've manned up their particular stations and are awaiting the arrival of the first alert airplane. As the aircraft is taxied to the catapult, the wakeboard operator shows the pilot the particular weight of the airplane. It's double-checked, confirmed, shown to the deck edge operator, and shown to the catapult officer. He uses this along with the wind over the deck to determine how hard a shot to give this particular airplane. As the aircraft is taxied up to the catapult, we have the final checkers giving it one last look for safety. Now you see the holdback man going in to position the holdback and ensure that all things are ready. When the aircraft goes for full power and intention, that's the only thing that's holding it back. Prior to the aircraft taxiing up for the launch bar to go over the shuttle, you see the ordnance man going around the aircraft. He arms all ordnance. He'll bring the shuttle back. He'll confirm steam pressure and ensure all below deck stations are manned and ready just prior to launch. Our topside petty officer ensures that the launch bar is down, the holdback is in place, and he taxis them up onto the catapult and over the shuttle. He gives a thumbs up. He looks at the shooter. Topside safety petty officer gives one last check, gives a tension signal to the yellow shirt, checks everything, ensures that the aircraft is in tension. Thumbs up, yellow shirt passes it to the shooter, and the pilot is ready to go once he salutes. Once all below deck systems are checked good, deck edge operator gives the shooter a one finger, which means first ready. Ready to go, pilot goes into tension. The catapult officer accepts the aircraft from the yellow shirt, looks over at deck edge, gives him a two-finger turn-up signal. At that time, deck edge says, Roger. Gives a two-finger turn-up below, requests a final ready from below decks. Once he receives final ready, both hands go in the air, showing that the catapult is ready to fire. Go back to the aircraft and the pilot, once he does his final internal check, looks at the catapult officer, salutes. Catapult officer returns his salute, makes his final check, looks up forward, and gives the shoot signal to deck edge.